The Master of Masters is easily the most interesting, mysterious, and important semi-new character in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. He will be a major player in the coming saga, and if you aren't aware of his importance now, you'll figure it out soon enough. He's the master of all the foretellers, the creator of the Book of Prophecies, and is the oldest character / entity in the Kingdom Hearts universe to date that we know about aside from literal darkness itself. Discussion pertaining to the Master is a hotspot for theories and speculation about new story events. A lot of lore and what we know about the Kingdom Hearts series involve him in some sort of way. I very recently rewatched the entirety of Union Cross, beginning to end, and nearly 2 years later, the story is still amazing. Of course, with any rewatch of the Kingdom Hearts story, I tend to notice new things or look at things differently because the series itself is always ever evolving with its mountain of lore, and I want to discuss some thoughts I don't see mentioned too often, at least among the general space. To cut to the point, the Master of Masters is not human. I believe that his identity, if he truly has one, does not matter in the grand scheme of things. It isn't a matter of the popular debate of who the Master is, but rather what. What is the Master of Masters? Think about it. The Master claims he didn't have a master himself when he was younger, was there at the start of the Keyblade War as far as we know, which is apparently the same time period in which darkness took on this form, going along to say how darkness looked like them. He also confirms there were wielders aside from him, but that they don't really count, which is a very bizarre statement to make. He said all of this in a single cutscene, by the way. A cutscene where he was talking about his origins along with those of the Keyblade War with Luxu. There's also this very bizarre moment in another cutscene where he is talking with Luxu and then teleports behind him, after causing all the power in the room to go out as he's talking. This is an ending to a scene where Luxu was in despair after hearing about the origins of the war, which made him feel like this fight was pointless with darkness, never ending. The Master didn't take lightly to this and reassured Luxu there is a greater plan at play, and there is a true plan to defeat the darkness forever. It was almost as if the Master did this to demonstrate his omnipotence as maybe a way to show Luxu to have faith in him. The Master also did the same sort of demonstration of power when taking Xehanort's Keyblade in Dark Road, when Xehanort would summon it on him. This interaction was also really funny. This was an interaction about trust, Master asking, "Do you trust me now?" and Xehanort just says even less, which I think all of us would feel the same in that position. What is he? We've seen characters in Kingdom Hearts teleport through portals and through just sheer speed, but since this is Union Cross, there is a gray area here where it could just be a lack of animation. Though the way this was done with the room going dark, all the monitors shutting off, and then the Master just suddenly appearing behind him, it seemed very intentional. Keep these bizarre moments in mind as I also discuss the Master and Darkness's interesting relationship. Throughout the scenes we see with the Master and Darkness in Union Cross, while it's clear they aren't necessarily friends, the Master and Darkness talk like they're very familiar with each other. This making sense as if the Master is going to make a plan to defeat Darkness, he must know his enemy, right? Though considering the vague information we do have on the Master's past, it makes you wonder just how far back the Master and Darkness truly do go. Like, I wouldn't say they're friends at all, but they're playful enough to the point where it almost feels like they both know they can't beat each other directly. Like they're both playing a game of chess I've described in the past. That's how this cutscene feels, where they're both moving pawns and pieces like Xehanort and Ericus kind of are, and that's what this whole thing is. That's what the whole war is, the light versus darkness war, the Master and Darkness playing a chess game. But the question here is the Master a piece on the board, or is he the one playing? Well, technically speaking, everyone's a piece on the board, but that's food for thought. Darkness says one line to the Master in particular that I find curious. "You came to this world just to end it?" Of course, the Master was around before Daybreak Town, but the specific usage of "you came to this world" is interesting. This would come after or during a conversation where the Master is just describing and rambling about his plan and the whole thing between darkness and light. But this is just me listing bizarre moments that have happened in cutscenes featuring the Master. None of these scenes individually or by themselves mean he isn't human. He at least relates to them. He at least relates to other humans, and whether he's human or not, he definitely sympathizes in some way at least with those who do have hearts. Even going on to say how this conflict with darkness isn't necessarily a good versus bad story, but is about honoring the dignity of those with hearts. The Master not being human, or being some sort of omnipotent being, makes sense when you reference his knowledge and his power. He was straight up able to steal Xander's Keyblade and Dark Road, and not quite in the same way Riku did in KH1, but just through what looked like sheer power and will, though he did it effortlessly. Something that always made me have this as a tiny thought in the back of my mind was when we learned of the Master's eye in the no-name Keyblade. Looking at his eye, if it's his actual eye and not just some sort of spell or anything, which the Master probably easily could come up with a spell like that, it makes me think he could be of some sort of other species, perhaps one that's very in tune with both light and darkness. And to make a Star Wars reference here, the equivalent would be kind of what Yoda's species is. The species Yoda comes from is a species very in tune with the Force, more gifted with it than most others. This could be a comparison for the Master. If the Master is traveling through time in a similar vein Luxu is, it's entirely possible that he has used multiple vessels over time, though I feel like if he could do that himself, there wouldn't be a big need for Luxu. So I think the Master likely doesn't actually need Luxu at all to move through time. But this brings up the question, per time travel rules, does the Master have a form? Which assumingly he must, since otherwise he wouldn't need Luxu. Would he? Could the Master just be a cloak with a heart? What Luxu is doing could be for a much greater purpose, one more similar to the purpose the Master described to Luxu before he would leave with the box. Though it's been proven that the Master is willing to hold back the truth until he deems it absolutely necessary. Like with Luxu, in fact. The foretellers, everyone's roles in general, all have little lies and manipulation from the Master put into them. You can say it needs to be that way, but it shows that the Master is willing to lie to his peers for a greater purpose. Not to say he does it all the time, but the Master isn't exempt from giving out half-truths and perhaps even manipulating the audience into thinking a certain way. What I'm thinking here could kind of tie into the Master is light theory, meaning perhaps the Master is formless, and similar to how you can't really defeat darkness without a form, maybe it's the same for the Master, or for light in general, explaining perhaps how he's seemingly a sole survivor from his time period. Or do things like that only apply to darkness? The Master could be looking for a candidate to harbor his light, or maybe the Master needs none of that. Maybe he's just some other type of species or being we've never seen or heard about yet in the series, one extremely in tune with the light or darkness. Master has been relaxing in Quadratum for some time now, likely waiting there until Sora arrived, and whatever Sora ends up doing there perhaps will kickstart his big plan. Whether the Master is human or not human may not mean a thing for the series. I mean, we do have a lot of different Disney characters roaming around who aren't exactly human, most being humanoid though. However, Kingdom Hearts isn't a story about forms and secret identities. It's a story about hearts and how we use our hearts to connect and impact with others. The Master's plan and whatever his role in all of this is, no matter what it may seem, will tie into that core concept of the story at the end of the day. I hope this got some people's brains turning. This thought has been on my mind for a while. While there's no real answer here, no hard 100%, I do believe there's definitely an argument to be had. The Master could not be human. What that means for the series, I want to get your thoughts on it. Let me know down below what you think. If you enjoyed this video, however, leave a like, share the video with a friend or family member, and last but not least, if you're not already and want to become a part of the union, all you have to do is hit that red little subscribe button down below. My name is Prodigy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out to you guys. Bye.
Now she's a daydreamer. She's always thinking about him. No more room in this picture for you to fit in. Now she's crying on the phone, telling you she's not good enough for him. When you think that she is perfect.